All right. So I would like to officially welcome you to Navigating Anxiety Practical Tools for Everyday Use. I'm going to start with going over the agenda since nervous systems like to know what is happening. So we're going to begin with orienting, and that's partially going over the agenda, and it's partially how we can orient in our body and in our nervous system. I'm going to teach you some cool holds with our hands and with our body. I'm going to cover the basics of what is polyvagal, the three essential elements, the three keys to polyvagal. I'm going to touch in on co-regulation and give you a tool for that, neuroception and give you a tool for that. I'm going to go into the details of the hierarchy and the ladder of the polyvagal theory, and of course, give you some tools for that. I'll touch in on the parasympathetic versus the sympathetic and give you a particular tool for each of those states. We'll go over the window of tolerance and give you a tool that will help you kind of check in with that. I'm going to discuss the vagal break and how we can adjust our speed of how we're doing our own energy. And then I'll give four tools at the end, which are basically experiments. So you can see how your body responds to these tools. And then I'll go into a little description of how you can map a much more thorough program for yourself if you want to go deeper into this and talk about my next class. I believe all of you know me well, so I won't go into too much detail, but basically I have such a passion for helping people come into their body. I really like to create the sense of having access to safety within yourself, because I feel like that helps us create safety as we go in the world. I've had a lot of anxiety in my life, and so I've had a lot of time to practice. That's why I teach these classes, and that's why I found Qigong. It's my favorite tool for moving into breath and body. And I want to say today, with all the tools and exercises that I'm offering, there's suggestions. So I fully believe the intelligence of your chi and your body is key. So adjust everything I say and tweak and do things that feel best to you. So consider what I'm offering as an invitation or a suggestion. Okay, so tool number one, we're going to orient. I'm going to have you sit comfortably where you are, feet on the ground. If it's good, go ahead and sit upright, kind of elongate the spine. And close your eyes. You don't need to read this. This is for your for follow-up. You can go through this when you're by yourself. But for right now, I'm going to invite you to inhale through the nose and have a slow exhale out the mouth. And do that a few times. As we have a longer exhale, this is the quickest way to start entering our parasympathetic nervous system. And then open your eyes and, leaving your head still, begin to look all around the room. Look in all the directions. And it's not so much looking at the things. Consider it more like your eyes are just scanning all the angles. And continue breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then if it feels comfortable, let your head follow your eyes now. And look as far as you can around the room. Include your body. Look at yourself. If it's helpful, you can squint, so you're not really looking at the things, but you're looking at the angles. You're utilizing the angles. So this is a tool that tells our nervous system, okay, there's no lion under the chair. There's no lion on the couch. There's no one coming after me. And as obvious as it is, our nervous system likes to make sure. So as we orient to around us, it helps us land in our body. So this is a wonderful tool if you ever feel dissociated or checked out, or if you're find yourself staring at the wall for too long. So I like to use this tool to just land. Tool number 2, I'm going to teach you now so you can do this while I'm talking. Let me see. Let me stop the share here. All right, we're going to begin with one thumb up, like you're hitchhiking. Good. You take your other hand, thumb down. Now hold that first thumb. Squeeze it. Give it a nice thumb hug. Yeah. So one thumb, and then the second hand is thumb down and grabs the thumb. The second hand, let that index finger come out. First hand wraps around and grabs the index finger. This is called handlebar pose. We're going to do it again because it's very confusing. One thumb up, second hand, thumb down, grab the thumb for a thumb hug. That second hand, let that finger come out, wrap around, squeeze that index finger. Now squeeze both of them tight and relax your shoulders. Put your hands in your lap. Okay, we're going to do it one more time because this is a little brain tease. Thumb up, second hand, thumb down, wrap around for a thumb hug. That second hand, index finger comes out. That first hand twists around and grabs a hold of that index finger. There you go, Stacy. No, it's like we wrap around. Yeah, there you go. Like you're holding a bicycle. Now squeeze tight and relax your hands. Take some breaths. Okay, so anytime our hands are touching, first off, we've just closed our circuitry. So this is going to keep other people's energy field out of us. So this is a wonderful way to just contain and feel centered. If someone in a meeting is saying something annoying, I mean, just simply holding your hands, that creates that. But the handlebar pose is extra tight and grounding. So you can continue to do that if it feels good, or simply relax as we move on. So I wrote all of this down so when you look at the video, you can recap it. I didn't want you to have to take notes. Okay, so basics of polyvagal theory. So Stephen Porges is the guy who created this in 1994. And he came up with this concept of the polyvagal is a map. And he wanted us to really start understanding more of why are we reacting? What is a trigger? Why are we getting so protected and guarded? And what is the difference between being regulated and dysregulated? So the polyvagal defines how we react and how we can regulate. It describes the information around us, right? And then there's 3 different key pathways. There's connection, fight or flight, and collapse or freeze. I'm going to get more into all of that soon. But the basic concept is, depending if we're in connection or fight or flight or freeze, that's going to change the stories we're telling ourselves. It's going to change how we react to people, or how we feel at the grocery store, or how we feel about that driver that just cut us off. If we're in connection, we're going to be like, oh, they're having a hard day. If we're in freeze, we might not even notice. Or if we're in fight or flight, we want to get into road rage. So our state creates the story of how we're dealing with the world. So there's 3 essential elements to polyvagal: context, choice, and connection. And you'll find if any of these are missing, that's when we shift into unease, and the system is now starting to protect. And we all have our favorite protections. So context is the information. It's like why, what, how. That's why I showed you the agenda right away. Your nervous system wanted to know, how long is this happening today? What are we talking about? Who is this TMA person? So I give you that right away. So then your nervous system can be like, okay, I know what I've signed up for. Choice. Can I just have somebody mute? I hear something in the background. If you're not muted, if you mute, thank you. So choice is about agency. We want to feel free. We don't want to feel restricted. If there's any sort of entrapment, our body feels like we are in danger and will respond. If with either fight or flight or freeze. And then connection. As much as we might not want to admit it, we absolutely biologically need to be connected. It's part of our wiring. More on that soon. All right, so co-regulation. This is one of the, so these three are the main principles of the polyvagal. Co-regulation happens way before self-regulation. Children absolutely need to borrow their parents' nervous system. And co-regulation is a way that we feel safe because somebody is reading us, connecting with us, and providing safety. And of course, if they're not providing safety, we are not feeling co-regulated and we're feeling dysregulated, which is very disruptive as a child. Okay, so neuroception. This basically is how we read the world. And this is not a thought process. This is when you walk into a room and you get a funny feeling in your belly, but you don't know why. There's nothing logical going on. This is neuroception. Same with if you like start talking to a stranger and you have a big expansive feeling and you're drawn to them. This is neuroception. Our nervous system is perceiving things on a lot of subtle levels. Now, what's fun is when we start to be aware of neuroception, we can definitely be conscious about the unconscious, which makes things a lot more interesting. And then there's this hierarchical ladder. So there is a system to polyvagal and it works in a certain way and it's not all over the map. And so ventral vagal is when we feel connected, when we feel like we want to go to the party. We're in the mood to socialize. Ventral is front. So it's talking about the front of the vagus nerve. Sympathetic is now we're getting protected. We're getting guarded. We're getting into fight or flight. We're getting into not feeling safe. It's also sympathetic has the vibration of motivation. So when we're like, all right, let me tackle the thing. Let me clean the house. That's a little sympathetic energy. Depending on if we feel safe or not, it's going to be fight or flight, or it's going to be there to get things done. Dorsal is back. So now we're talking about the back of the vagus nerve. This is when we feel contracted, we feel depressed, we feel heavy, feel withdrawn. There's a real lack of energy. It's kind of like a turtle vibration. We do not feel safe and maybe don't even have the energy to do anything about it. So these are the organizing principles. So we're going to do a little co-regulation. Since we are together, thought we could co-regulate together, eh? Welcome everybody. I see some new people here. Okay, first thing we're going to do is rest both of our hands on our heart. And if you weren't here, I was telling you this is all a suggestion, an invitation. So take a few deep breaths. And I invite you to bring your right hand forward so we can all see it on the computer. Yes. And have your left hand face you. And for a minute, imagine there's beams of light coming out of your hands. Send it to the other people in this Zoom room. Do a quick scan if there's any tension in your body, if maybe you want to melt it, your shoulders or your jaw. Maybe relax the space between your eyebrows. Good. All right. And then with an inhale, just turn your hands, both of them. And now press your left hand forward and bring your right hand towards you. And switch and press. So right hand comes forward, left hand comes back. So right now we are giving and receiving simultaneously. And go ahead and do this real slow, like you're moving through honey. Drink it in, feel other people's energy. And then give energy. Good. And now bring both of your hands forward. This is a way I like to hold hands in Zoom rooms. And just take a moment to feel this. And you can relax your hands. So co-regulation is a powerful thing. It's how we don't feel alone and isolated in the world. And it's pretty important these days because a lot of us are stuck in Zoom rooms, and then there's COVID, and then there's just life. And there's a lot of things going on where people are not co-regulating. And so I just wanted to stress the importance that we can even do this on the computer, because it's not about touch. It's more about energy, and our nervous system perceives energy. Let's talk more about neuroception. All right, so neuroception's biggest job is, am I safe? Right? It's always scanning, but every situation, every room, every restaurant you go to, it's constantly like do 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 do, and it's reading three different places. One, inside your body, right? So it's that feelings, it's emotions, it's the feeling in your belly, it's your heart rate, it's your sweat, it's your eyes, are they dilating? It's also the immediate environment, so the room you're in, and then it's the larger environment. It's your town, it's the world, it's the state of affairs, the larger picture. So neuroception is constantly trying to assess if we're safe. And it's not always correct. Sometimes it feels like it's not safe, and we are. So that's why neuroception is important, that we start to listen to it, because it will give us a lot of information. So here's a tool for neuroception. Again, I'm going to invite you to just sit comfortably and close your eyes if you'd like. And again, take a deep breath through the nose and exhale slowly out the mouth. And listen for the furthest sound you can hear. Good. So when you do this tool, it can take a minute or two or longer. But the gist is, as we stretch our ears to hear the longest, we're letting our nervous system reach further and further and further. And it gives us more a sense of where we are in the world. A similar tool is, you can look out the window or look in nature and look for 5 miles in front of you, or see how far you can look. It is a similar effect on our neuroception. All right, now we're going to get into some meat and potatoes. This is the polyvagal ladder. This is a game changer. So we're going to start with dorsal vagal. This is when you feel shut down. This is the oldest nervous system, because all of these were built through the human body at different times. And the dorsal vagal is like caveman brain. And it's also when we feel life threatened, or we feel depressed, or we feel drained, or we feel disconnected. You're going to experience the world as unwelcoming or dark or empty, and you're going to feel lost, disconnected. I describe when I'm in dorsal vagal as like the inside of my face is too tired, or it hurts. Like, it's just so painful to exist. It's a very, very, very heavy place. So this is the back of our vagus nerve, right? When we climb up the ladder, we come into sympathetic. Again, remember, this is the same vibe as motivation, but this is where fight or flight is. This is where we have the energy to make a choice, where we can either run or turn around and attack. This is where we'll experience a lot of anxiety, right? And the world can feel chaotic, unmanageable, terrifying. And we might have the sense of being out of control or dysregulated or in danger. We also might get very comfortable with feeling this anxiety energy because there's a lot of adrenaline with that, right? So sometimes we get in a habit and we're like fight or flight, fight or flight, fight or flight. So it's just very helpful to notice when we are here, to notice when we are here. When we come to the top, ventral vagal, this is when we're regulated. This is when we're taking care of our nervous system needs. This is where we've been taking care of business and we feel available to connect with other humans. We feel engaged with life. We feel safe. The world is welcoming. We have magical moments. We feel okay. We feel happy even. We feel alive and well. We feel possibilities. So what happens is throughout the day, we can go up and down the ladder, right? It's not like we stay somewhere and get stuck. Say we're driving to the store and somebody cuts in front of us, boom, we come in here. Sometimes things happen where we dip into dorsal vagal, but then maybe we know we have some tools, do some things that shift our breath, shift our awareness, and we can come back up in here. What I am seeing with my clients is a lot of people are stuck in fight or flight. There's a chronic fight or flight that's been happening because guess what? Our world is chaotic right now. Things are affecting us. We feel this, even if our current world is fine. Like when California or Australia is on fire, our nervous system is in neuroception feeling that. So this ladder is a really key point to start understanding where are you on the ladder, because then when you know where you are, you have more choice and movement. And that's where the mapping comes in that we'll do in the longer class I'm doing. We're going to do some actual structure of like, okay, what does my fight or flight look like? It's going to be different than Jane's and Stacy's and Kristen. We're all going to do our fight or flight different. So it's really cool when you take the time to map out, okay, what are your triggers? What's your tendency? What are the tools that really work for you? And we start to create a system where you feel supported. So you can get much more into the ventral vagal, which feels good to be up here. It's like, it's how we feel safe. Okay, tool number 5. Where's my time? Okay, I'm doing good. All right, so there's this new concept called havening. And there's many tools for it. I decided to show you this one first. It's simply taking your hands together and washing them, like you're washing them in the air. You just rub your hands together and breathe. Now play around with the speed and the pressure and come in between your fingers. And this is very grounding. The concept of havening is that this sort of work, when we're touching and calming our body, we're accessing nerve endings. It creates serotonin. And it also helps our proprioceptors know where we are, right? So simply doing this is a very helpful tool. If we're in dorsal, if we're shut down and we can't do much, we can't make the phone call or we can't get the glass of water, we're just like, what does it matter? I'm so depressed. Sometimes we could just rub our hands together. So that's one havening tool. I'll touch on a few more havening tools as we go. Okay, so the vagus nerve. This is a mammoth nerve in our body. It comes from the brain, comes down the sides of our necks, and it connects with our heart, our liver, spleen, our stomach, our pancreas, our kidney, our colon, our small intestine. Like, it is mammoth. And so what's fascinating to me is that the brain is not completely sending information to the vagus nerve. It sends about 20% to the vagus nerve. But more so, the vagus nerve is the main communicator, and it sends 80% information to the brain. And so when we're talking about being in your body, being embodied, this is what we're assessing. We're trying to listen to what the body is telling us because it has a lot more clear information than the brain. Because the brain, it's got positive affirmations, it's got things we should be doing, but the the vagus nerve is absolutely sensing what is happening. So vagus means wander. And so that's why we're talking about this wandering nerve. And then a key part that I want to touch in about right here, right at the diaphragm, is where it separates. Everything above, let's put our hands on our diaphragm. So everything above our diaphragm is ventral vagal, right? So this is the heart, the throat, the voice, the eyes, the face. This is how we connect with people. This is when we feel available to go to the party or have a lover in our face. We feel ventral vagal. When we feel shut down and we feel like we're getting in fear and too much anxiety, we're in dorsal vagal, which is below the belly, which explains why you get sick to your stomach or why you get a queasy feeling when something is off, which is why digestion shuts down when we go into fight or flight. Even if you've eaten a big meal, if someone brings up a subject and you get triggered while you're eating, it will stop because you're now in dorsal vagal. All the energy is going to deal with the threat, not digesting. So accessing our parasympathetic helps us digest not only food, but the world and feelings and emotions and all like that, right? Okay, so moving on. We got the sympathetic nervous system. This is more in our spine. So this comes down our brain through our spine. It comes out through the thoracic and then down through the lumbar. And so this is going to be everything to do with our fight or flight. This is going to kick us into gear and be like, I have to run, the lion's chasing me, or I'm turning around and telling them what I'm thinking. So this is where we would deal with the adrenaline and the cortisol. And so it's in the back of our body, right? And the vagus nerve is more in front of the spine. Just to know as we're working with vagus nerve holds, wanted to give you these visuals. So speaking of which, let's do a hold. So this is a ventral hold. I'm going to invite you to put one hand on the back of your neck and then one hand on your heart. And take a deep breath through your nose. Doesn't matter which hand. And if you can, relax your shoulders, relax your jaw. So this helps you access your ventral vagus state. It also really calms the sympathetic nervous system as it comes down from your brain. And we have that hole in the base of our skull. This is a vulnerable spot on the back of our neck. So just resting our hand here can very much shift some anxiety. The nervous system's going to feel a little safer and protected. So notice how this hold makes you feel. And if you'd like to switch hands, just to get a sense, again, of your preference. I'll use this hold when I get triggered or I feel dysregulated or I'm shifting into like overthinking. This just really grounds me and helps me come more ventral vagal. And then relax your hands. And then put one hand on the back of your neck and one hand on your diaphragm. This is more dorsal. This is a dorsal hold. I use this hold when I'm actually feeling fear or I'm moving into panic or I can't quite breathe. If I have been depressed or shut down or I find myself in freeze mode, And we go into freeze mode when we can't easily fight or flight. Freeze mode is like the last resort. So we go into like staring at the wall in the shower and like, or we drive through 30 miles and we don't know how we got there. We're shut down, we're in freeze mode. So I'll do this hold with the first tool of orienting, where I look around the room and breathe. So this very much helps me ground and land. So when I'm giving you these tools, it's kind of like I'm giving you colors for your palette. Some of these tools you might like, some of them might not do anything for you. But what I want is for you to have an array of tools to start experimenting with as you're going through your day. If you notice like, oh, you're moving up and down the ladder, the polyvagal ladder, you can experiment with different tools, how they fit with your nervous system. And let me get now into the window of tolerance. This was developed by Dan Siegel in '99. This is more along the lines of the ladder and how we shift, how we would go from feeling regulated or dysregulated. The window of tolerance is describing when we feel safe, right? This is when we're comfortable, we can eat, we can laugh, we can connect, we feel safe. We can even be angry in window of tolerance. We can be sad and grieving in window of tolerance. We can be having conflict. All of that is like a comfortable range of feeling. Now, when we start to get dysregulated, going too high, heading toward mania, then we're going to get agitated and frustrated. We start getting more angry and get a little fired up. When we get really dysregulated, the anxiety is starting to take over and we feel out of control. We're kind of stuck in fight or flight, not having choice in it, having a hard time like breathing comfortably. For me, I feel my eyes dilate. I'm talking too fast. I'm moving too fast. Sometimes I feel like I'm going 700 miles an hour. It's very hyper aroused. I feel like I am late and I can't get there fast enough, and I start dropping things and bumping into things, and it's really not pleasant. But now that I learned about the polyvagal, I use all of that as information. I don't judge it. I go, whoa, 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 I'm moving way too fast. Let me come back into my window of tolerance. And what we're looking for is this kind of comfortable place again. Of course, we can see here the things that help us get into the window of tolerance is self-care and mindfulness, movement, grounding, breathing. All these tools I'm teaching you today, these are what help you get in the window of tolerance. Of course, the things that would knock us out of that would be not getting enough sleep, feeling stressed, letting the anxiety kind of go on and on and on. Maybe not eating when we're hungry, not taking care of ourselves when we get the little niggles of like what we need. It could be we need more social connection. It could be we need more alone time. It's not such a clean-cut recipe. But what is cool when we start to practice, how does it feel when I'm in the window of tolerance? And when do I start to get into hyper arousal? And when do I get hypo arousal? So going the other direction, we're starting to go into depression and we're starting to feel detached and disconnected. We feel zoned out, kind of lose the point. What is the point of living? What is the point of my project? What is the point of me? Blah, blah, blah. Very challenging once we get here to find the motivation to get out of it, right? Because when we're in apathy and when we feel that heavy in grief or in like feeling trapped, there's no way we can instantly jump up into motivation. That's a fallacy I really want to get across. Like there's no just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. There's no just do it or just like shift gears. When we are feeling numb and in dorsal, it's very subtle stuff that we need to do, which is why the eye orienting, looking around the room. Some people who are so frozen in depression maybe can't do much more, but they probably could look around the room, right? So just starting to orient to where they are in the room begins to walk people up a notch or two on the polyvagal ladder. Does that make sense? Cool. So window of tolerance is very much part of neuroception, right? So when we're listening to, am I safe? What's going on inside the body and the immediate environment and the larger environment? That's what we're dealing with here. So, and what I have found is the more I practice checking in with my window of tolerance, the more information I get. So now I can feel like, oh, I'm about to get triggered. I'm about to go into anxiety, and I can do a few of the things that I know calm me down. I'll do a hold. I'll do the handlebar pose. These things, they can interrupt me from like, oh shit, I'm going. I know I can find my breath, I can find some movement, and I don't have to get out of this. But the practice has been really insightful. Okay. So, are there any questions thus far? You can unmute if you do have a question. Nope. Okay. We're going to do another tool then. Tool number 8. This is called swimming pool check-in. Basically, imagine for a moment that you are like a swimming pool and think about all the things in your life, the good things, the bad things, the stressful things, all the things. All of those subjects are like a yoga ball in your swimming pool, right? So you've got your work and you've got your bills and you've got your relationships and you've got your projects. All of those are swimming pools. I mean, yoga balls in your swimming pool. There comes a point where a swimming pool can be so filled with yoga balls. There's no more room. In fact, if you shove another yoga ball in there, a yoga ball is going to pop out the other end. So this is what we talk about when we're saying we've reached capacity. When you're like, I can't deal with another thing, or I'm on my last nerve, or I've reached the end of my rope. We're talking about reaching capacity. And there comes a point where we just cannot take in any more information, any more project, or any more anything. There's a sense of like full. We are full. So this is kind of what most of my clients are coming to me with. They're like, they don't know what to do, and there's a short circuiting and there's like an overwhelm. So that's why I love this tool. In fact, I invite you, if you want to, after this class, to make a list of all your yoga balls. What are all the things that are stressing you out? What are all the things that you're loving? What is anything that is taking time in your life? If you find yourself overwhelmed and unable to function, the invitation is to see if there's a yoga ball or two you can remove for the time being. I'm not saying you have to like get rid of the yoga balls, because some of them, they all might be important to you. But it doesn't mean you have the energy or the capacity in your nervous system for it all. So this is a self-reflection journal tool for you to take with you. And then along these lines, I wanted to tap in a little bit on the vagal break. So the vagus nerve has a break, and it controls the heart rate. So it also controls how we regulate or not. So if the vagus nerve is not toned, which means we're basically kind of like floating in overwhelm, or we've reached capacity and there's no more choice. A toned vagus nerve is like, I can shift my energy with my breath. I can check in with where I'm at. I can have access to have some movement in the ladder. The vagal break actually can be played with very consciously, that we can slow down. And when we take a deep breath in through our nose, that's telling our brain there's no lion chasing us right now. When we're eating and talking and breathing and on the phone and and we're doing a lot of mouth sharing, that's pretty much the same energy if we were having a lion chase us. So when we're talking and eating and doing a lot of mouth breathing, our brain and our nervous system is feeling like, I think we're in danger. So anytime you are feeling too much anxiety and you want to shift that, inhaling through the nose is a very easy tool to start putting on the vagal break. In fact, every inhale, we can access that break. And the more we do mindful breathing with yoga or Qigong, or simply focusing on breath, we have more access to tone our vagus nerve and know when we're using the break. So I call this a speed check. It's basically just asking yourself, how fast are you going? As you're cleaning the house, or as you're like talking on the phone, or as you're typing on your emails, check in with your speed. Are your eyes dilated? Are you feeling heavy? Are things feeling really hard to maneuver? Or are you walking faster on your tiptoes? So a lot of times when people are experiencing anxiety, they start wanting to go faster and faster and faster, not necessarily accurately, right? So also, if you have any sort of trauma in your body, or you have some overwhelm, a lot of people with CPTSD or these trauma patterns have described this vibration as going 700 miles an hour with the emergency brake on. So I like to really invite two questions to my clients and to myself. I'll say, how safe am I? And can I create more safety right now? And how fast am I going? And yeah, it's an imagination, because you could be sitting here and I'll ask you, how fast are you going right now? I'm going about 35 miles an hour right now. And it's more like checking in with your energy field. There are definitely times when I'll start cranking up and I feel my eyes dilate and my heart starts racing. And because I have passion, so there's two things. I'm moving into sympathetic because that's motivation. But because I have a lot of patterns of trauma and anxiety, it's really easy for me to slip into anxiety when I feel motivated. But as long as I keep asking myself, where's my speed? How am I doing? I can keep myself from tipping over into the anxiety vibe simply by like inviting myself to slow down. Which is great when you're giving presentations and you want to breathe, right? Same with washing the dishes. I can start washing the dishes fast and I start breaking the dishes. So checking your speed is a really cool tool, and it gives you a little more information about where you might be on the polyvagal ladder. So tool number 10, this is called a hug and a heel drop. If you're comfortable, I'm going to invite you to stand for this. And if not, you can sit. We're going to take one arm and wrap it around and tuck it under your armpit and then squeeze that down. And take the other hand and wrap around that arm. And now hug yourself tight. So you are hugging the vagus nerve right now. And take some breaths. And the heel drop is simply lifting your heels up and dropping it down. It can be fast or slow, subtle or intense. Just try and find a rhythm and get into a rhythm. And keep breathing. Squeeze your arms tight. And you can relax. Have a seat. So that's going to start touching into your whole nervous system. The heel drop is very regulating, right? And so if you're having anxiety or you start going too fast, I love this tool because the vagus nerve does like to feel pressure. It likes hugs. The legs holds. And then the heel drop, it adds that rhythm, and it grounds us into our body. It helps us embody, and it helps us feel a sense of opening up our feet so we are grounded. All right, tool number 11. We're going to do this one seated. You're going to have you inhale, hands overhead, palms touch, like prayer position. Drop your shoulders. Yawning is really good for this, so go ahead and yawn. I'm going to have you let your palms drop behind your neck and place your hands on the side of your neck and hold. So this is where the vagus nerve first comes down from the brain. So this is giving your vagus nerve a hug. And then starting on one side, begin to pet your neck very softly. Your favorite fuzzy animal. And pet the other side of your neck. This is called Yin Massage. It's a very potent tool. And pet the front of your throat. Notice your breathing as you do this. Continue petting the sides of your neck. And then down your throat again, and pat down your chest and your heart from the throat to the belly. And then rest both hands on the sides of your neck again. And breathe. It's one of my favorite tools for shifting anxiety quickly. You can relax your hands. When I want to connect with people and maybe I don't feel so present or I don't feel so available, I can do that. It definitely stimulates the sense of safety. It's okay to have someone close to my face, or I can share my heart or share my voice. It's a very beautiful tool for that. All right, so I wanted to address the kidneys because the adrenal glands, so here's the kidney, the adrenal gland sits right on top of the kidneys. And a lot of us have our adrenals stuck on. There's adrenal fatigue and there's just adrenal overload. People are feeling stressed and our adrenals feel it. So rubbing your hands together is a very easy way to make more chi. Chi means energy. And so now you have extra energy in your hands. Open your hands a little bit and feel that palm to palm connection. This is all your energy. And pulse slightly. And then take your hands and bring it around to your kidneys and rub your kidneys. Pour that chi into your kidneys. And breathe in through the nose. And then rest your hands on your kidneys and imagine light coming into your adrenals. I like to take a moment to thank my adrenal glands for all that they do and that they can tone it down a little today. I don't see any lions. Yes, I have some emails and the dishes to wash, but we can pour chi into our organs, which goes directly towards our vagus nerve. And when we talk to our organs that they can relax, it tells our vagus nerve we can relax. And then our whole system feels more integrated. And we don't have to be stuck in fight or flight and stuck in an adrenaline dump, even though life keeps happening. All right, you can relax your hands. And then the last tool for today is one of my favorites, Qigong shaking. So I'm going to have you stand if you'd like. You can do this seated, but it's best standing. And we get feet shoulder width apart, soft knees, softly bend your knees, tuck your pelvis, tuck your chin, Elongate your spine. Imagine from the bottoms of your feet, you have roots going down into the earth like you're a tree. Let your roots take up some room. See if they want to go down or do they go wide? Do they find dirt or the aquifer? And then if you like, imagine breathing in from the tips of your roots, breathing in earth energy up through your feet into your body. And then from the knees, we begin to bounce. Simply shake. Mhm. So I'm shaking my whole body. The head flows wherever it wants to. The arms just dangle like ropes from the shoulders. Shake your inhale. Shake your exhale. Shake off any tension in your body. You can open your throat and let any sounds fall out. And shake your liver. Shake your eyeballs. And shake your hands out in front of you. Imagine all the tension from your shoulders flying out your fingertips. Shake your hands behind you. Shake your kidneys. Is there any regret you'd like to let go of? Shake off regret. Shake any fear out of your body. Arms out to the side. You can look at your hands if that feels good for your neck. Shake your heart. Arms straight out front. Shake anything out of your way today. Clear all obstacles. Shake your third eye. Shake your aura. Arms straight up. Shake your pituitary gland and your brain. Your arms straight down again. And come to stillness. Eyes open or closed, but soft knees, tuck your pelvis, and feel your chi. And you can sit down if you were standing. So Qigong shaking, powerful tool. My Qigong teacher taught me that we are reorganizing our DNA when we do this. We are copying the animals who shake after any sort of trauma. They do more of tremor, which I recommend too, especially after any car wreck or any breakup or anything. If you find yourself shaking, lean into it. Don't stop shaking. Shake harder. It's the way the body moves adrenaline out of our system. So it also kind of reorganizes things because we get in these patterns of tension and pain and anxiety. We can get stuck in in the polyvagal ladder. We get comfortable in a certain rung or two, and the shaking just it's a reset. Very powerful tool. You can do it for a minute, 5 minutes, I had my teacher, he would do it up to 3 hours a day. I haven't done that yet, but I think the longest I've done it is 45 minutes, and it's very like psychotropic. I start having meditative visions, and it shifts things out. But also the relaxation that comes from it is very full bodied. So I wanted to give you that if you don't know about it yet. And that's the gist. So I gave you 13 tools. I wanted to cover the basics of polyvagal theory. I know this was a lot, but I wanted to give you a full buffet. I am going to teach a longer class of this. I'm going to do it the 28th, 29th, 30th of this month. I'm asking $297, and we're going to go a lot slower and more into details. And the biggest thing we're going to do is create the personalized map where we're going to do some writing together and figure out, like, okay, where are your triggers, where's your ventral vagal, what does that look like, what does your dorsal vagal look like, what are the tools of your self-care that work best for you when. So if that interests you, I would love to hear from you and have you join me. And I am open for questions.
I just want to thank you. Thank you so much. This feels life-changing.
Ah, really? What part?
Honestly, every single exercise. I haven't been doing much other than breathing, and I've been really stressed. So like, and having the concept of the ladder, all of it, this just feels, I have a lot to digest.
I'm so glad. I felt the same when I first found it, because I was like, okay, I feel the triggers, but I didn't know what to do with it. But the polyvagal theory gave me like the map to like start to be able to read and then adjust. So I'm really glad you found that helpful. Yeah. Any other comments, questions?
Me?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah, this was fantastic. It was so clear, so organized, and so chock full of value. Oh my God.
I'm
I
so
just wish there were
glad.
more people attending, and I want to, yeah, I really wish there were actually men attending this course as well. So maybe something we can put on our discussion list in the future, but I found it incredibly wonderful. I'm going to share all of this with my kids. Thank you so much. You did an excellent job. It was really, really
Thank
well
you,
done.
Jerica. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
My pleasure. Yeah, I felt such a life shift when I learned these tools. So I am not done teaching this. This is a big part of my mission, to teach this for people and help people feel more comfortable and safe within our bodies. Because the thing about co-regulation is, like, if we start feeling more ventral vagal and we start feeling safer, everyone around us feels that too. If we're in dorsal vagal and we're shut down, everyone feels that. So the more of us who are kind of like tracking and honoring and shifting, befriending our nervous system, the more that is really doing a powerful thing out in the world. So I will be sending out this recording, so you will have the whole thing, and you will have all the tools. In my larger class, I'm going to be making a pretty extensive library. So all of these tools will be separate, and you'll have the library where you can go, okay, when I'm shut down, when I'm angry, when I'm anxious, and there will be the whole array, the palette of tools for you to kind of have at your disposal.
Can I ask a quick question about the logistics?
Yeah.
So will they each be 1 hour long from 12 to 1 p.m. on those dates?
Yes.
And will like the majority of the focus be on the tools and the practices, or on like the understanding? I'm sure that there's a mix of both, but if you were to say, is it like mostly the tools and practices, or
the biggest focus of this class is you to create a map for yourself. So I want you to come away with a fully comprehensive system that's personalized for you, that you can be utilizing this. So yes, we will be focusing on all the tools that work, so you have a nice array of how you can use this. And then I'll be going deeper into some of the key concepts I touched in today, because I really went briefly on them. And there's a lot more subtleties that help us as we're navigating throughout our own nervous system journey.
Great. I'm really interested in learning more. I was just curious about like how much of it is like head learning and how much of it is the tools and practices in our body.
I think it's going to be 50-50, Kristen. Yeah. Thanks for that question. And on those classes, I will be available to go a half an hour over for Q&As if people want to go deeper. So it'll be an hour long with a half an hour option for questions. Okay, anything else? Angela?
I just want to say this was so helpful. Like, you and I are friends, and I learn from you in our friendship all the time. And this was so well organized, and I learned new things, and I have a deeper understanding of why the things work, which for me, that's an important part of any tools. I want to know the why behind it. And so knowing the
context.
Yes, I need that. For me, I need that context. And so now understanding, I'm like, oh, I understand why this works. And that helps me I think that's going to help me remember to use the tools when I really need them, of being like, oh, what am I feeling? Okay, this is why I feel this way. And now I know what to do for that. So this was just so much information, so super helpful. And I'm excited for your course. I'm going to sign up.
Yay, I'm so glad. Thank you, Angela. Yeah, the context, you want to know the why, and like, why should we do this? And like all of that, that's a nervous system need of yours. Yeah. Anybody else? Last thoughts, questions? You can all email me, of course, and let me know if there's anything private you want to talk about. Good to see you, Susan. All right. Thank you all for spending an hour on your Saturday, and I hope this was helpful. I'll be sending you the recording and then sending you more information about the class if you're interested, and I will be doing this more. I also teach Qigong live in Gainesville, and then there's Qigong classes on my website if you just want to go that route, because Qigong or any sort of movement is a beautiful way to like tone the vagus nerve and to shift us out of anxiety. So thank you so much for attending, and I appreciate it, and I will see y'all soon.